Okay, so today the main idea of what we're going to cover for notes 2.2 is how you can use an equation to model and solve real-world problems. So our first idea, which is explain number 1, is creating and solving equations using the distributive property. So remember that when you're distributing, multiply everything on the outside by everything on the inside. Remember that there should always be an add or a subtraction sign in between. For example, 3 times x is 3x plus, there's our plus sign. 3 times 5 is 15. A lot of times kids forget to multiply that 3 times 5. A second example I wanted to show you, which is a little bit harder, not too bad, but you still distribute first. 3 times x is 3x plus 3 times 5 is 15. And then a lot of times kids think that they have to distribute that x, but it's actually an add-on. Remember that distributing means multiply everything on the outside by everything on the inside. They're referring to the parentheses here. There are no parentheses here, so you just add that x on. And then essentially what you'll do is add those like terms. So x plus 3x is 4x plus 15. All right, so now taking a look at a real-world problem. Aaron and Alice are bowling. Alice's score is twice the difference of Aaron's score in 5. Their sum is 320. Find the student's bowling score. First things first, you're going to choose a variable for the unknown quantity. So what is the unknown quantity? Is it Aaron or Alice? Well, if you look right here, it tells us what Alice's score is. Alice's score is actually twice the difference of Aaron's score. But we don't know what Aaron's score is. So Aaron is actually our unknown. That's going to be called x. And then I want to go to what is the total. So right here, the sum of their scores is 320. So now we have to write an equation to represent the situation. So we know Aaron is x. So we need to go back and write what Alice is. So Alice is equal to, we're going to look at this. It's twice the difference. Difference means to subtract. So we have to subtract Aaron's score and 5. And then we have to take it and times it by 2. So the first thing you would do is write parentheses, and it's Aaron's score and 5. But it's not add, it's actually the difference. So it's subtract, x minus 5. And then we take the difference of Aaron's score and 5, which is x minus 5, and we times it by 2, twice as much. And then it says the sum of their scores. So we're going to take Aaron's score, and we're going to add it to Alice's score, and we're going to get our total. So we know Aaron's score is x, and Alice's score is 2, parentheses, x minus 5, and our total is 320. So that's write an equation to represent the situation. There it is. So now we're going to solve for the unknown. And make sure it makes sense. So now we're going to go back and distribute, kind of like what we did up here. 2 times x is 2x plus 2. And now look, I'm going to change it to an add opposite and make that a negative. So 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Equals 320, and then I have that extra x over here. Do I distribute it? No, I don't, because it's not part of my parentheses. So I just add it on. I'm going to add my like terms. X plus 2x is 3x plus negative 10 is equal to 320. I minus 10 to both sides. And then I have 3x, these are going to cancel, equals 310. Then I divide by 3, and x equals 110. What does x equal? 110. What is 110? 110 is x, which is Aaron's score. Okay, I'm going to flip this to the next page. So the second example that we have is Mari, Carlos, and Amanda collect stamps. Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mari, and Amanda has 3 times as many stamps as Carlos. Together, they have 100 stamps. Find the number of stamps each person has. Now let's take a look. What is the unknown? What is the one that we need to find out? Well, we know Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mari, and we know Amanda has 5 times that of Carlos's. So if you think it through, Mari is the one we don't know. So Mari is going to be our X. And then we can solve for Carlos. We know that Carlos, we can set up Carlos's. Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mari. So Carlos is equal to X plus 5. Then we can set up Amanda's. Amanda has 3 times as many stamps as Carlos. So if this is Carlos, then Amanda is 3 times that of Carlos. And we also know that our total altogether is 100. And it says altogether, which tells us that our operation is the sum or adding. So we're going to add Mari plus Carlos plus Amanda, and we're going to have that equal our total. So Mari is X plus Carlos, X plus 5, plus Amanda, 3X plus 5, and of course that has to be in parentheses, which equals 100. And again, we distribute. 3 times X is 3X plus 15 equals 100, and I don't distribute this because they're not part of our parentheses, so I'm just going to bring this straight down. X plus 5 plus. Then I'm going to add my like terms. So it's X plus 3X, and I'm going to move over here because I need some extra space. So that's 3X plus 4X plus 1X is 5X. Plus, and then my like terms here, 5 and 15 added together is 20, is equal to 100. Add opposite, minus 200, or 20, to both sides. I get 5X equals 80, and I'm going to divide by 5. So I can solve for my X, which is 16. 16 represents what? Well, if you look back up here, it represents Mari's, how many stamps Mari has. So she has 16 stamps. Carlos has 16 plus 5, which is 21 stamps. And then Amanda has 21 plus 5, which 21 plus 5 is 26, and 26 times 3. No, I'm sorry, I said that wrong too, sorry. 21 is what Carlos has, which is all that. I knew it was 21 times 3, which is 63. Next, a rectangular garden has, that's supposed to say has, fences all on all sides, which means all around the perimeter. And it totals 256 feet. The garden is 8 feet longer than its width. So see, this is the width or wide, and this is 8 plus W. Find the length and the width of the garden. So if you look, we know that the perimeter, which is all the way around the outside, is equal to 256, our total. We don't have to actually figure out what the X is because they gave it to us. It's W and then W plus 8. But it's the perimeter. So that means that's W and that's W plus 8. When we do our perimeter, it's W plus 8 plus W plus 8, which I want to write it as a distributive property problem. 2 times W plus 8 plus our width, which is 2 times W, because this is W and that's W, is all equal to 256. 2 times W is 2W, plus 2 times 8 is 16, plus 2W equals 256. 2W plus 2W is equal to 4W, plus 16 equals 256. And then I add opposite, minus 16 to both sides, and then 4W equals 240, subtracting, and then I divide by 4. So W equals 60. What is W? W is the width. So that is 60 feet. And then in order to find the other one, I plug in W into the unknown, which is W plus 8, so that's 68.
Rachel Granaccio, please come to the office.
Equals the length.